we will follow.
Hello and welcome to Trinity Talk Live, water cooler conversation from a Christian perspective. I am Ken Coughlan. Thank you very much for joining us again today. And as promised on last week's episode, he actually showed up. Welcome back, Ben Lander.
Thanks for having me again.
Do I have to give your bio again? Or
Go back and watch a previous episode and you'll get it there.
If you don't know Ben by now, you're not a regular enough consumer of this show, and you really need to go back and watch a whole bunch of episodes because he's on all the time. This is Ben. I will say one thing, pastoral assistant Ben, not lay minister Ben anymore. So that we want to make sure we get that clear out there. So, hey, listen up. I want to, first of all, say real quick that I promised something last week. And we're going to make it happen. Look at these, our lovely Trinity Talk Live mugs. Shall I show this off to my close-up? There you go. No, don't zoom in. Just here we go. Ben, hold yours up and stare right at your camera. There you go. All right. The Trinity Talk Live mugs now are officially for sale. All proceeds are going to be benefiting, obviously, the video ministry here at Trinity. It's this kind of thing is expensive to do, obviously, between the equipment, and there's some things that are very consumable that you go through. And to buy mugs. No, but and so we are trying to start doing a little bit of fundraising thing to try to make this ministry a little more self-sufficient if we can. And the first step in that, in our grand scheme of self-sufficiency, is selling the mugs. The mugs are available for $13 a piece. If you're local here to the Trinity Joppa area, then you can pick them up at the Welcome Center after worship. We'll make sure we arrange to do that. That way you don't have to worry about shipping or anything like that. If you're not local, then there is a flat rate of $8 for shipping and handling. The way to go about ordering one if you want is, first step is to send an email to me at kcoughlin@trinityjoppa.org. And in that email, you want to say, first of all, who you are, what your name is, whether you need shipping or not, how many mugs you want, and if you do need shipping, you need to know what the shipping address is going to be. And then also you're going to be sending a check for the full amount. Remember, it's $13 per mug, and if you need shipping, it's $8 per mug for shipping and handling as well. You send a check for that amount, whatever the amount is for the number of mugs that you want, to the address on the screen. And you want to make sure on the memo section of your check you write TTL mug, for Trinity Talk Live mug. Otherwise, you're sending a check to a church, and our lovely treasurer, Don Wagner, here is going to think you're just making a donation. So you want to make sure you put that on the memo line so she knows that it is actually for the mugs, and then we can match up the email with the payment, and then what we'll do is we will send you an email as soon as the mugs are available. We don't keep an inventory, but they do come in pretty quickly. So if you just send it to us, then we'll have your email address. We'll email you, say it's either on its way or it's available for pickup at the Welcome Center. All right? And again, it's a great benefit to us to help us bring you more content, great content here on our video ministry here at Trinity. The other thing I want to mention is we've got a really cool thing coming up here. We, believe it or not, are almost at the end of our first season. We've been doing this for almost a whole year, Ben. Do you realize that?
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
You should. You were on the first episode.
One, exactly, yeah.
You weren't supposed to be on the first epised.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Pastor Paul. But,
and then he copped out and called. How much notice did you get that you were going to be on the show that day?
I think it was that morning. Yeah.
we got your record beat though now, because a couple weeks ago we had Mike Hinman on, and he was a last minute replacement. I think he had maybe an hour and a half notice or something like that he was going to be on the show, and he did great. So anyway, we're going to be celebrating our 1 year anniversary here coming up pretty soon, and so we are going to be doing on the first Tuesday of June an entire episode that's going to be a little bit of a retrospective, showing some of the things we've done over the course of the past year, and it's also going to have some behind-the-scenes stuff, so you can kind of get a look at what it takes to put on something like this. A lot of people look at it and say, oh, it's just a little 30-minute show, so you come in, you film for 30 minutes, and you're done. No problem, right? No. It's an awful lot more involved. Shooting days pretty much are the whole day. We usually shoot these things on Monday, and from at least 9 in the morning until probably 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon is all just spent here in studio getting things ready to go. And then, of course, there's all the editing and the publicity and everything like that as well. But we're going to give you a little hint into that, a little look behind the scenes on the first Tuesday in June is. So mark that on your calendar and be prepared to enjoy. So what do you say we actually get to our topic of this week?
Sounds good.
After all that introduction. Our topic this week is going to be staying connected with the church in the digital age. For those of you that don't know, Ben and I, the reason we're the two on the show here today is because this is kind of part of our job with Trinity. It's a higher percentage of my job than it is of his, obviously, but he's involved. He kind of supervises the Trinity app, which hopefully we'll talk a little bit about today, and then I do the social media accounts and obviously the YouTube channel. Neither one of us does. I should have gotten Christine on the show.
Oh, yeah, to do the website.
Where's Christine Martini? Anybody can go find her, see if she's around. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, neither one of us actually does the website. Christine Martini here at the church does that. She does a great job with it. But what I want to talk a little bit about is, what kind of opportunities, both the need for a digital outreach for a church, and then maybe some ideas about what churches can do, what we're doing, and what other people might be able to do to help satisfy that need. And I'm going to start out with a little research here. There was a Pew Research study recently that found that 77% of Americans own a smartphone, and 73% have some sort of broadband internet device. Also, nearly, I don't know what year this was released, but it's relatively recent, and it found that nearly 240 million Americans have a Facebook account. We did a show on social media I want to say a few weeks ago, but at this point it was probably several months ago. These things all run together. Where, and one thing I talked about was that, the Bible tells us to bring the gospel to the world. And so we're in the world, not of the world, but we still have to go to where the need is. And whether that be, like in our case, we've got the mission trip to Guatemala coming up in June. We've got another one. Was it Missouri or Mississippi? I get the M1s confused. The adult team is going. Pastor Chuck just announced this past Sunday that our adult team's got a trip coming up in the fall.
I think that's Mississippi. Yeah, they've gone down to Biloxi and everything.
That's probably what it is. Yeah. And so, that's an example of going to where the need is, and you bring Christ's love and you bring the gospel to wherever the need is. Well, I think in a very real sense, there's this online world out there. That's where people are going and congregating and socializing. And so I almost look at that as a whole new mission field out there that's come up that, if we don't bring the gospel there, then it's going to be just like any other geographical place in the world where the gospel hasn't been reached, and that doesn't usually lead to good results. So,
right.
So let's start out chatting about that. Just what is the need for a digital? Why is there a need for a digital outreach?
Yeah, it's interesting and in some ways kind of scary. I saw a article the other day about there's actually a term in Japanese for somebody who is a social recluse and they spend all their time and socialization on the internet. Yeah. And there's this growing...
In English, I think it's called American. That's the term. No.
Yeah. Or it's called, like, teenagers. But no, there's this growing concern for the first generation of these people as they get older and their parents are no longer around. And, it's stereotypical, but they live with their parents and, kind of they live off of them. They live in the house with them. So as people are no longer able to take care of them and they're going to have to be forced out into society for the first time, there's this growing concern of what that will do to them psychologically. And so I say that just to say that, that's a little bit scary that the internet has become such a almost a necessity for daily life. I mean, we just talked about, again, we went on the confirmation retreat last weekend, and everybody's got their phones, all the teenagers, and we're guilty of it too. If we're not in a Wi-Fi or a hotspot, or we got our 4G or 3G, we're like, what am I going to do? So, yeah, we've become so reliant on that constant access. And there are places you can go. There's even like video games where, you've got The Sims, but you've got like other video games where you can create your own virtual avatar and basically live in that online world. And people get so drawn into that and so sucked in. So there's a need because that's where people are going. That's, where they experience their socialization through that. And, I've talked before about there's kind of like this decentralization across the board, not just for the church, but there is that too. People think, well, I don't have to go to church anymore. I can just go online. I can hear a sermon, listen to a podcast, something like that. Or, take a lot of stores are closing down because they can't keep up with things like Amazon or virtual or online shopping. So there's this decentralization of, actually going and having this face-to-face interaction. And it's, in a way, like I said, scary, but it's also the time that we live in. So the need is great to leverage that for the gospel, because the gospel doesn't change. The gospel is always relevant, always hits home, and speaks to our heart because it's alive, because it's active. It's sharper than any two-edged sword, dividing even soul and spirit, is what the Bible says. And so when we share the gospel, no matter the platform, it's going to have the same effect on people's lives.
That makes me, it reminds me of one of the pieces of feedback we got when we first kind of were starting our digital outreach was kind of in its infancy, and obviously we've got an awful lot going on now, but we didn't always. I remember when I first started, I actually was a volunteer for the YouTube channel and everything like that. I remember at one point, because I was a video editor, and I basically said, hey, if you're looking for somebody to snazz up the sermon videos, at the time we were just posting videos of just the sermons. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how I got started. But as we made a decision at one point to say, let's start filming the whole worship service for homebound people or people that couldn't make it in. And one of the pieces of feedback we got is something I think we need to be sensitive to, that somebody said, well, the problem is if you put the full service online, then does that mean people aren't going to show up to church? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I know the conclusion I came to is like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to minimize that. I think that's a legitimate concern. At the same time, you've got a good number of people that legitimately can't get in, right. And based on, and I'll say at least based on our viewership numbers and our attendance numbers, I don't think that we saw a decline in attendance when we started doing that. Mm-hmm. And it's not like in the full service videos they don't get huge number of views, but I do notice a consistent number of views every week, which tells me that there are a certain number of people out there that can't get it in for one reason or another that are actually mm-hmm. watching this. I mean, what are your thoughts about that balancing that a little bit?
Yeah, I think we shouldn't be afraid of just because there's the possibility that people won't come to church doesn't mean that we should not do this, because I think it's definitely a viable outreach. It's definitely a viable ministry. Like I said, the gospel is the gospel is the gospel. It's not going to change as many ways that we can get it out there. The more, the better. And so, yeah, how do we maybe respond to that? Is, well, there's certain things that no matter what, unless you can ship communion to your house or something, there's certain things that you can't get at home. Now, we joke around sometimes, like on Ash Wednesday, that certain churches have like drive-through ashes. You just go and get your ashes and all that. And there's a whole conundrum there with that. But there is a aspect of community, right? We're the body of Christ. We have to be building each other up. And it's more than just sitting and watching and receiving. And that, I think, is something that could be said across the board, whether you're getting your interaction with Scripture online or you're actually coming to church and only sitting in the pew and only receiving. There's a part that you play in that as well. There's a part that we don't just come to church to be served. You come to church to experience and to be a part of something bigger than yourself, and that's the body of Christ.
And we're a family. We're supposed to be a church family. You hear that kind of term all the time. Well, you ask yourself, if you're a healthy family, is the sign of a healthy family if one person is just sitting back, take. No, a healthy family is one where everybody contributes to what needs to be done to the well-being and the thriving of that particular family unit. Church is no different, and so I think that you're right. That attitude's going to be out there, and it is, and maybe we're convicting somebody out there right now that's watching this. I don't know, but hey, maybe that's a good thing. That you're supposed to be. You can't get everything out of a church family if all you're doing is sitting at home watching a video.
Right.
There's the fellowship, the bonding, the communion, the physical act of the taking communion that you're not going to be able to get. So it's never going to be able to completely duplicate it, and that's why I think that the balance weighs on providing this for the people that can't get in. If you're looking at your balance of risks, I think the scales tip that way a little bit for that reason.
And even I'll say for example, in the case of homebound people, we still, and that's kind of another part of my job as pastoral assistant, we try to go out to those people and bring communion to them so they're getting that interaction they're getting. Where two or more are gathered, you need two. Where two or more are gathered, there I will be also with them, Jesus says. And so when we go and do home visitations, we bring communion to those who are not able to make it. And so that's kind of a supplement. The video ministry is kind of a supplement that they can get the word and receive the word, but also they receive the fellowship and the communion when we go out and we serve them in that way as well. And I think too, there's this balancing act that you have to do. There's this dynamic of physical interaction and virtual, but I think there are things that we can do to provide that fellowship as well. On our church app, we have a prayer page, or a prayer wall, and you can post your prayers and your prayer requests, and people can respond to them and pray for each other. And again, that's not meant to take the place of actually bearing one another's burdens, but it's a way, if you're not able to be in close proximity to each other, you can still lift one another up and support one another.
Yeah, that's a good transition into some things that you can do. I was reading something this week that said that if you want to get a message out, if you as a church want to get the message out to your congregation, you really need to have what it called 7, I believe it's all called them touches. And the idea is they need to come into contact with this, whatever messages you're trying to communicate, like 7 times. Mm-hmm. And the ideal way to do that is have it come out to them in 7 different ways, whether it be, the announcements when they're there in worship Sunday morning. And then maybe you have, social media accounts that you post on social media account. Maybe you send out, like we have a one-call email system that we send out announcements on. And so you want to find different ways that they're going to come into contact with that message. And at least the magic number according to this in the Bible. Isn't that amazing how that worked? The number of completion being 7 in the Bible. But they said you want to get that in front of them 7 different times. And so one way I think to do that is to have a variety of your digital outreach out there. Since this is where people are, there's a lot more than just one thing. Gone are the days where everybody was on email. And I've still got some relatives of mine that just don't want to do social media, and that's fine. But what they do is they send out these mass emails to everybody. I just kind of want to sit them down and say, at least in my experience, people aren't communicating that way anymore. They're not reading emails and sending emails back and forth, socially. If you want to have a social interaction, they're going to the social media things. But having a variety like that. So you actually mentioned the app, that we have an app here at Trinity. Could you tell people a little bit about what our app offers? And what we do on it, and maybe even a little bit about how you went about, because I don't even know this, how you went about getting it set up. I don't know if you want to advertise any particular providers, but just in general anyway. Sure. So people that are out there wondering, it's not just a matter of saying, oh, well, yeah, it's a good idea to have an app, but then how do I do that? Tell them how they go about doing that.
Yeah, there's a organization that we went through. It's called Subsplash, and we went through and we researched, the cost effectiveness versus what we'd be getting and what we wanted to do with the app. And our main reasons for having it, was to have a singular place that we can bring everything together, that we can direct. Really, the purpose of the app is to provide basic information and then direct outward. So you're not going to get a full-length bio on all the staff members or anything. We direct you to the website for that. You're not going to, the sermons are all of the media that we post. Actually, this Trinity Talk Live is on the app, but it redirects you to the YouTube page where the apps are actually, or where the episodes are actually held, where they're actually uploaded to. So really, the app is more so meant to be like a hub where you can go, you can get snapshots of information, and now there are other things on there. We send out push notifications, which is great. I think it's been really helpful when we do like certain sermon series and everything. Like, for example, right now we're in the Pray Like This study, and there's a Bible reading plan that goes along with that. So we've been sending out daily push notifications, or 5 days a week, to have a daily reading, and that goes out via push notification. You'll just get an app notification on your phone if you subscribe to it.
And the app has a Bible app on it too, so you can just go right there in the app and read whatever you're supposed to be reading that day.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the Bible portion of the app too. Now, if you have a different Bible app as well, that's handy. Mm-hmm. You can use one or the other, but it's all housed right there in the church app too. And let's see what else. We have a prayer wall, like I mentioned. You can go and you can post, and that kind of links. We use a a thing called Padlet. It's again a kind of a link that kind of mirrors that, but it's all housed within the app. And you can either sign in with Facebook if you want people to see who you are and they can connect with you via Facebook that way. Or if you want to just post anonymously, you don't have to sign up for it. If you have a personal prayer request, you just want to post something anonymous. So there's different options there as well. There's mobile giving. Again, not that takes the place of coming in church and having that fellowship.
The last 2 weeks has been very helpful to me when I forgot my envelopes, though, just saying.
It is, and that's kind of the idea behind mobile giving is that, if you're away, a lot of times in the summer, people go away on vacation, but they still want to maintain regularity with their contributions. Mobile giving is so easy and so simple to do that. You can either text the number that's provided there, or you can just sign up and do automatic payments that way. And it's super easy, and the instructions are right there. You just click on it, and it'll guide you through the steps. And there's more content to come. We're continually developing that, and different ways. One of the things that's kind of been in the works, but on the back burner right now, we're looking at is like a see a need, fill a need. So people in our congregation who are able to provide services, getting them connected with people who need that service.
One of the biggest struggles we've got, I think, in the world today is, you come to church, whether it be on Saturday, whether it be on Sunday, and it's your filling station. Where Pastor Paul gave a sermon last summer about, the church as a filling station, and it does serve that need. But then you got to go out to the world for the other 6 days, and you can get drained when you're out there. And so I think one of the great things this digital outreach can do is to make a connection with people while they're out there in the world. And the app is one way of doing that, because what did I just say? 77% of people have a smartphone, and so they're going to have the church in their pocket with them wherever they go when they need it. And there's other things. What I do is I do our social media accounts, and we at the church here, we have a Facebook account, we have Instagram, Twitter, and now Snapchat as well. And one thing I will say, again, because that's the mission field, that's where a lot of people are. And so I think it's really important to go there. Now, what do you do? Just having an account in and of itself isn't going to do anything unless you're posting it. And one piece of advice I'll give people out there is post regularly. You've got to post regularly, because if you don't, then it's the way Facebook's algorithm works. For example, you're not going to be showing up in people's news feeds. It used to be that a long time ago, it just was automatically whatever of all your friends and people you follow, you just automatically saw whatever the most recent stuff was. That's not true anymore. Now Facebook uses an algorithm that takes into account a lot of different things, and including who they're interacting with. And so the more someone likes content that's on your page, or comments on things that are on your page, the more likely it is that your posts are going to appear on their timeline. And so you have to be doing things that's encouraging people to interact. All right, you want to, asking people to comment, or doing things that are getting likes on it. Facebook has also demonstrated that the most popular types of posts are things that involve pictures or involve videos. And so even I'll do things where even it's the silliest, this little announcement about something that's coming up, some event, not even events, or I create Facebook events, but even if it's just some silly little announcement, I will try as much as possible not to have it just be text. I'll attach some kind of picture to it, because that grabs people's attention and it makes them more likely to interact with it, which makes your future content more likely to show up for them. Also, I will say that there are, even when it comes to Instagram or when it comes to Twitter, there are websites you can go to. The one we use is called Buffer, buffer.com. That allows you to schedule, like Facebook, you can schedule future posts on, and that's the other thing. So, like, I only work here at the church 2 days a week, Monday and Tuesday. But I don't want all of our posts to just be on Monday and Tuesday, then nothing come out on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because again, I'm going to fall into the same trap where people aren't going to be seeing our stuff. And so I use, for Facebook, I will actually schedule posts to go up throughout the week. So even if I'm not here to physically post it, I'll type them all up on Monday and Tuesday, and then they'll be scheduled to post on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that's it. But you can use Instagram and Twitter don't allow you to do that, but you can use other websites like buffer.com, where they can post to those apps for you. And so you can post things, do the same thing. I type everything up into Buffer, and then it will automatically post onto Twitter. Instagram's a little more touchy. It depends on what kind of account you have with them, but even then it'll send it to your phone. And so it'll still schedule it, but then send it to your phone. You get a notification on your phone that says, hey, it's time to post a buffer, or to Instagram. And so then it automatically saves the whole text of your whatever you've typed up in your whatever your copy paste feed. Why am I drawing a blank? And so you just like paste it and automatically paste the whole thing, not to retype it. But so that's a good way if you're going to be to reach out to people, is make sure they're using visuals, pictures, videos, and make sure you're encouraging people to interact, and make sure you're doing it on a regular basis.
I think a good way for people who may just be watching the show, who may not be running any kind of like digital outreach ministry per se, but still want to be engaging online with other people, is to share.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, share if you like any of these videos, if you like any of the content that we or any other ministry, as long as it's getting the word of God out there, getting the gospel to spread, that's the point. That's the idea. And again, according to like what Ken was saying with the Facebook algorithms, the more that you share content like that, and hopefully people can like it or subscribe to a channel or comment on it, and that will get more content. And so it's just building, kind of in a sense, building God's kingdom in a digital platform. God's kingdom is far-reaching and goes to the ends of the earth. And I think now what we're seeing in this day and age is that now includes a virtual platform. So yeah, just sharing content, and I'm guilty. I'm not on Facebook nearly as much as I should be.
That's all right. Your wife makes up for it.
That's right. Yeah, seriously, she'll tell me, she'll update me on all the newest stuff. So I'm like, cool, awesome. Can you share that? Can you like it or something? But
every now and then I tag him in something silly just to see how long it takes him to notice. No.
Yeah. Well, actually, I just went out to dinner on Friday night with a friend of mine from college who I hadn't seen in a while, and he's a school teacher. And it's so funny. We were just talking about, it's so crazy, like, how we're old now. We have kids. Like, people see us as old, so like teenagers. I don't know, if you're not on social media or anything, you can feel out of touch with that. Mm-hmm. And he says, with his students, he's had to ask them, what does this mean exactly? And they're not even on Facebook anymore, because once adults start doing that, then it's not cool anymore. So now they're going to Snapchat. That's the primary social media if you want to reach a younger audience. So really the platform too, or the social media that you use caters to a different audience, and in different ways. Facebook, you can add pictures, videos, text. Twitter, I think you can add pictures to Twitter, but not. Or is there video?
No. With Instagram, you can add videos up to a certain length, but you can link to videos. Like, for example, I'll have on Twitter and Instagram, I'll have links to our YouTube channel, kind of like you're saying the app does.
Yeah, exactly. Snapchat, that's just like a however many second, 30-second video or something. So, be mindful too a little bit of what you're trying to convey and what avenue is the best way to convey that.
But I think it's great. The people often say things like, well, we're supposed to evangelize. You're supposed to, the Great Commission, take the gospel to the ends of the earth. And people, one of the biggest concerns a lot of people have is, well, what do I say? I don't have the words. I don't know what I'm going to say. The beautiful thing about the social media and the sharing you're talking about is you don't have to know what to say. Right. It's already there. Somebody else has done it for you. Right. All you got to do is click share, and you're helping spread the gospel. And it's always been a puzzlement to me why more people don't do that. It's like there's all these resources that are out there. I mean, not to say that people don't. There are. But it's like it's the easiest way to help spread the gospel is taking some words that someone else has already spoken, as long as they're true and accurate, and sharing them on social media. That way you don't have to do any of the work. All you do is click the share button, and there you go. You mentioned something else about it's not being cool once you get older. I had a debate with my daughter, my teenage daughter, who's been on the show 4 times. Everybody's seen her. I was admittedly torturing her a little bit, because that's what parents do. See, she thinks that YouTubers are the coolest people in the world. There's certain YouTubers that she likes and she follows, and that's the sign of being totally cool. And I pointed out to her, well, you realize your dad hosts a show every week on YouTube, right? Doesn't that make me a YouTuber? No. No. Dads can't be YouTubers, all right? And she went through a very long, detailed process to come up with a definition of a YouTuber in her mind so that it would exclude me. All right, so that I am not a YouTuber because dads can't be cool. But I will mention just on that the lines of those YouTube real quick, and then we got to get wrapped up here. Another way to reach out is through a YouTube channel or having more video ministry. Obviously, to do that can get more expensive depending on what you want to do, and your church, your ministry may or may not have the budget for it. But there's always, I mean, if you've got a smartphone, you probably got a video camera, and there's always something you can do. YouTube's free. YouTube's free. But the only thing I would encourage you there, a lot of churches, it's. We talked at the beginning of this video about posting your worship services, and I think that's good, and that serves a definite need to meeting people who are homebound who can't make it. But if you want to start a regular video ministry and you're thinking all we're going to do is we're going to post our worship services online and we're going to get 15 million followers, that's not going to happen. It's what I call digital white noise. Everybody's posting their worship services out there. When you're posting your worship services, it's good, but you're primarily reaching out to your existing congregation with that, people who couldn't make it, who want to come in. Not to say this not exceptions to the rules. There are people that are looking for maybe a home church that might want to see what the worship services are like. They're going to check it out. And so my encouragement would be to look for variety. Look at different things you can do. Obviously, like here on our channel now, we've got 4 regular shows. And again, posting regularly, just like social media. We've got something new that goes up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have a new video that goes up every week, each 4 days a week. And we've got, we have our regular worship services that go up every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. And we call that Welcome to Worship. And we have the first thing that goes up is the message for people that just want to get the message. Every Monday morning at 9 a.m. we have our program which we call Connecting with God. And that is the sermon message basically from the week before. And then we have our Trinity Talk Live every Tuesday at noon. This is a talk show. This is something completely different, but it's a different way of reaching out to people. And then, of course, Thursday mornings we have a morning devotional that we put up there, which it's not Ben this week. It's Ryan this week. So we're not going to have to film Ben twice in 1 week. That's just an example. That's not to say there aren't other. There's a lot of other great ministries out there. I love, I'm an apologist. I love the 1 Minute Apologist. I don't think he's been posting much lately. I worry about that a little bit. But it was another great thing where he'd have just a couple minutes long apologetic videos. So there's a lot of different things you can do. And I think find whatever works best within the ministry of your church or your ministry, and ways that you can try to bring something new that's not already out there, that not a million other people are doing. So
yeah, one of the ones that I like is his name, or the channel is called Lutheran Satire.
I love that. You got me to subscribe to that. That's
great.
Great.
It's great. I don't think he's been posting as much, but his tagline is sharing the gospel by making fun of things. And if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's pretty cool.
We'll put a link in the show notes. So we'll link both of those in the show notes since we're giving them a shout out. Don't only forget to do that, Mary Kay. All right. Anything else that we didn't remember?
The only other thing that I might say is, whether you're planning on reaching out via your own digital ministry, or just you want to be sharing the gospel in your own online presence, is I wanted to say something about kind of making sure that your online presence is consistent with your faith, with your faith walk. A lot of people on Facebook is out there for the world to see, so it's not really the best platform to air your dirty laundry. Not that we can't be ourselves, not that we can't be real, but also be mindful of the content that you are sharing, because everything that you share or do, whether it's in life or online, sends a message, because people are watching, whether you realize it or not, whether that's fair or not. People are going to see that. And so for us to be ambassadors of Jesus Christ, those who bear his name as Christians, to be making sure that we are relaying that in our communications always.
I'm sure there's ideas that you may have out there for how you can use have a digital outreach ministry, either corporately as a church or individually as a person, that we may not have mentioned today. If you have an idea that you think is a really good one that we haven't mentioned today, go ahead and put it in the comments section of this video, so that other people who come to see the video can look down the comments and they can see what your idea is. I think that'd be a fantastic thing. We'd really appreciate that. And if you did like the video, of course, do me a favor, go ahead and click the like button. That's a thumbs up button right here on the YouTube page. And hey, here's an idea that we haven't covered yet today. How about sharing it? Just an idea.
Yeah.
Share the videos. We really appreciate it. We do have, in addition to the church, Trinity Joppa has a Facebook page. We also here on the Trinity Talk Live have our own Facebook page as well, at Trinity Talk Live Podcast. Give us a like on there, share that, and comment on there. And you can also give us ideas about what you want to see on future episodes. Speaking of future episodes, next week we are going to be doing our special episode in honor of Mother's Day. A couple weeks ago, or was it last week? It was last week. I tell you, these things just all run. Who knows? Last week we did an episode called something brilliant, and Ben was on it. And I remember the idea was basically what parents can do. Helping your kids own their faith. That's what it was. Thank you. I knew it would come back to me eventually. Where we were looking at it from the perspective of, okay, you're a parent. What can you do to help your children grow up in the faith and adopt the faith for themselves? Well, what we're going to be doing for Mother's Day is kind of looking at it kind of reverse. Where we're going to be talking about mom's faith, my faith is what we're calling it. And it's things that we're talking to some various different people who are affiliated in some way, whether they attend here at Trinity, whether they're on staff here at Trinity, and about the ways that their mothers impacted them and their faith growing up. So you can kind of look at it, hindsight being 20/20 kind of thing. Look at the kind of things that did work and that did take, so to speak. And so that's going to be a real special episode next week. We hope you can join us for that. That's all I got. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. We're trying to, I've got a short-term goal right now. We're trying to get up to 300 subscribers here. The last I checked this morning, we were at 271. So please go ahead and subscribe and tell your friends about it. All right. Thank you again, Ben, for showing up 2 weeks in a row.
Sure thing.
So the secret is, well, he's kind of going to be on 3 weeks in a row. It's going to kind of neat. So you don't know what I'm talking about. You have to tune in next week. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. God bless.
In your word we will follow.